Caught unaware and unprepared, the pandemic of 2020 has spooked the world. The public health crisis that COVID-19 has unleashed is still sending shockwaves across the globe, ripping through our economic, social, and private lives on a breathtaking scale. It's definitely been a year of disruptions. But beyond the daily updates we see on our screens, the real-world consequences of this pandemic is revealing how fragile our interconnected world really is, and it's forcing our hand to act. In Malaysia, the economic fallout of the Enforced Movement Control Order, or the MCO, has not been easy on the economy. While some businesses are surviving under this new normal state of affairs, many have had to quickly adjust to new ways of working, or have found themselves simply unable to operate. Stimulus packages have been deployed to help ease the crunch, but the triple crisis that has hit Malaysia in particular, that of public health, economics, and politics, has forced us to think about hitting the reset button on exactly how the economy works and how it sustains us. But as the weeks roll by, many more people have suddenly found themselves without work and without incomes. The long-term ripple effects of this could be catastrophic if we fail to act swiftly and in step with the everyday realities of everyday people. Let's put it this way. Maybe it's time for us to talk about rebuilding from ground zero. Malaysia has to seriously think about how our existing economic model has been affected by COVID-19. The consequences of not thinking through and not acting fast enough would mean even more jobs lost, more bankruptcies, and more people falling through the cracks. This is a time for swift and bold action, and time is running out. How bad is the current situation? Wei Ling from REFSA gives us a reality check.
The pandemic and the global economic pause that followed has led to an adverse impact on economies around the world. In Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia reported that the GDP, or the rate of economic growth, showed a modest growth of 0.7% in the first quarter of 2020. On the other hand, the year's forecasted growth is expected to be between -2% to -0.5%, putting the country in a recession territory. In comparison, the Malaysian economy shrank by 1.5% in 2009 during the recession caused by the then global financial crisis. However, the economy isn't just about measuring economic growth. Businesses and jobs create opportunities for people to earn their living and maintain their quality of life. As of May 2020, the unemployment rate in Malaysia has reached 5.3%, or a total of 826,000 people have lost their jobs. This figure is the highest it has been since 1998. Meanwhile, the number of new jobs created pales in comparison, as only 17,000 new jobs were created in the private sector in April 2020. At the same time, the number of people in the labour force declined in the first quarter of 2020 to 68.8%, which means that 31.2% of the working age population was not employed and not actively seeking employment. As the global economy stumbles through recovery, the likelihood of a swift recovery seems to be remote. The recession is expected to deepen even further before it starts to show any improvement, which begs the question, how are people dealing with this situation?
Lagi pada last year lagi lah, dah slow tapi okey lagi. Lepas tu this year start bulan 1 memang slow lah. 18 dia dah bagi arahan sebab kita essential boleh buka. So saya masih buka cuma sehari dapat 100, 150. Tak boleh survive juga kan. Nak bayar sewa, nak bayar gaji lagi. So saya cakap tak apa, 22, 23 dah keluar red zone, saya cakap tutup. Nanti apa-apa jadi staff pun, pekerja pun kena jaga kan.
Dia pendapatan dalam laut ni, dia tak tentu. Ada hari yang banyakkan pun orang kata bersih lah, tolak apa semua. Adalah seorang 100 lebih, 150 ke, 130. Kalau kata dalam sebulan tu pendapatan adalah 2,000, 1,000 lebih. Ikut kita punya kerja lah. Kalau tak PKP ni kadang-kadang kita nak dapat 1,000 sebulan pun tak boleh. Kadang baru kita nak pergi kerja, kadang-kadang bersyarat kan, benda bersyarat. Bukan kita boleh ikut suka pergi kerja. Kadang-kadang kita baru nak keluar, dah tahu polimerin dia ada rondaan. Kita tak boleh buat kerja. Kalau kena lagi, biasalah denda kan. Mana kita nak cari duit. Makna kami kerja ni orang kata cukup makan. Apa yang ada kami makan lah laut ni. Hang bagi bantuan kami ambil. Kalau kata tak ada bantuan pun kami makan yang mana yang simpan lah. Sini kawasan pelancongan, betul banyak kedai tak buka. Kurang sikit lah pelancongan tu. Apa orang ramai lah. Rasa terjejas sikit lah. Sale daripada sebelum PKP dengan Allah kan. Bila ni dah okey banyak sikit. Tapi sini hari biasa dia sunyi macam ni.
Oh, saya daripada bulan 1 saya tak ambil gaji. Tak ambil gaji lah. Sampai sekarang. Terpaksa pakai saving sendirilah. Sebab kereta rumah kan tak payah bayar dulu kan. So boleh lagi lah. Tapi risau juga bulan 10 ni dah start bayar.
Dari segi bantuan ni alhamdulillah lah. Macam kerajaan bagi makanan. Lepas tu support orang kata macam duit tu ada lah juga. Macam dia orang bagi untuk sarau untuk fikir bantuan bencana ni kan kami dapat. Tapi orang kata yang selebih-selebihnya macam itu saya dah mohon juga untuk SSM yang mereka bagi tu. Tapi yang tu nak kata dia tak bagi ke ataupun hanya untuk nak ambil. Tak dapat lah benda tu kan. Untuk perniagaannya kami ada perniagaan.
Ni yang 3,000 tu?
Yang 3,000 tu. Kami tak dapat benda tu. Peniaga tu kalau SSM ada SSM dah 3,000 kan. Macam tu.
Untuk
tak
macam mana?
Tak cukup lah kalau dengan sewa kan. Sewa tinggi kat sini. Kalau macam dia bagi support macam alat-alat kan ni kan. Bantuan dari situ kan. Dia macam rak-rak untuk penambahbaikan kedai kan. Sekiranya bantuan tu ada, Mai, kami akan terima. Mai, kami akan usaha buat. InsyaAllah kami boleh buat. Kami banyak lagi orang muda yang perlukan pekerjaan. Tak ada pekerjaan. Kita nak kerja kilang, pendapatan kilang. Tengok macam mana kalau nak sara hidup. Kilang, 1,200. Kita makanan kita, anak kita sehari-hari pun dah berapa? RM50 sekarang beli barang tak cukup bang. Kalau kami macam kerja lok macam ni, kami rasa lega. Sekarang sehari kami dapat 100, kami akan belanjakan RM50 untuk sehari. Pemakanan anak. Model kos dia nak buat belah ikan kan. Kata dah belah ikan. Satu sangkap pun dia kata lah RM50,000. Kalau 10 sangkap RM500,000. Kita nak cari model seketul tu tak boleh. Macam kami pun buat kerja macam ni. Nak angkatkan pinjaman pun tak duduk. Kan. Kalau pendapatan kecil-kecil. Bank mana yang nak terima kami. Macam tu lah susah dia. Kalau kata ada ke depan-depan ni, kalau kata kerajaan yang boleh bantu kami, insyaAllah.
Tapi lepas PKP memang problem banyak lah. Saya punya steamer pula rosak. Steamer repair ada dalam 500 hari tu repair. Lepas tu ni tadi elektrik pula problem dekat DB tu. Kena panggil maintenance repair. So benda tu costing lagi tau. At least kita yang tu katalah kat situ sikit 2-3 ribu. Kalau loan 10 ribu tak cukup. Habis lah, tak cukup lah. Kita nak loan tu bukan untuk apa. Kita nak at least apa jadi kita ada tempat kita nak ambil. Bukannya macam loan tu kita nak renovate kedai. Tak, benda tu bagi saya tak perlu kot sekarang. Sebab kita nak survive bukan untuk kita nak expand business. Sekarang ni nak masa untuk survive tu je.
So where do we go from here? In the short term at least, businesses aren't hopeful and there is a clear drought of opportunities. Through economic stimulus plans, the government has come up with cash handouts, loan repayment moratoriums, and wage subsidies to mitigate the economic effects of the pandemic. But are these measures enough? What if the government can play a bigger role to help make sure that there are jobs and opportunities for all Malaysians, not just as a reaction to the fallout of the triple crisis, but as an act of seeding towards growing a more resilient and sustainable economy? Ivy Quek from REFSA tells us more.
The Great Reset. This is what we need right now. The old ways of handling the economy have failed. This reset should be viewed as a golden opportunity for the government to create a fresh and concerted policy response in order to address our most serious economic problems. We need big and bold socio-economic policies to kickstart our economy recovery and also to realign our economic priorities towards a more sustainable and resilient forms of work, so that when the next crisis hits, we'll be better prepared to absorb the shocks. So this will include creating resilient jobs and industries for a new generation. We want to ensure a better quality of life for all Malaysians that is built upon a more solid system. A system that seeks to resolve problems that come from inequality, poor social mobility, and inadequate social protection. But to save and create jobs in a failing economy, we need the government to act courageously and urgently. In a way, the government needs to act like a gardener with a vision. The land is overgrown with weeds and trees with rotting roots that needs urgent attention. The gardener needs to not only fix the problems that can be seen, but also think far, far ahead. The best and healthiest seeds must be planted now to create a sustainable and resilient garden for the future. To do this, doing things the old way cannot take us very far. It is creativity, innovation, and courage with a clear vision which will carry us towards that promised land. A government that works hand in hand with innovative private enterprises and a dynamic market can be a very powerful force for good. The greatest potential in growing the economy in a post-COVID-19 world lies with the people. We must invest in them. This is where mission-oriented innovation policy can play a big role in seeding the economy of the future, when new forms of work can be created in response to the crisis. Mission-oriented innovation policies focuses on solving specific problems that our society faces. This requires thinking about the interconnected relations between all our different sectors in order to solve our societal problems. With the government taking the lead, new types of collaborations are made possible by nudging the private sectors to invest in generating new ideas for solutions. This results in the potential for great benefits. Even though the private sector has been seen as pioneering innovation, much of the world's progress has actually been led by the governments. For example, in the mid-20th century, the space race to the moon between the United States and the Soviet Union has led to great innovation, not just in the aerospace industries, but also in other areas such as food, medicine, and biology. Things that billions of us are using today, such as the internet and the GPS, are actually the result of the US investment in their national defense. Governments are best placed to lead innovation for public good, with, of course, the help from the private sector. This is because governments are entrusted to serve the people over profit. This ensures a nation that is able to fully enjoy the fruits of these investments. So, what should our mission be? It should be to breathe new life into our economy by creating resilient and sustainable jobs while solving our society's problem. The government is the entity with most resources and capability to finance bold, innovative projects that can revolutionize our economy. It is time for the government to step in as the most crucial investor and innovator.
So the mission we have now is to create sustainable and resilient jobs. Bold measures to reset our economy are essential if we want to change the way we work and live for the better. We can frame this as working on 3 pursuits. The first pursuit, protecting Malaysians' livelihoods. We need to take urgent and necessary steps to prevent the rot of chronic unemployment from spreading in our garden. This would mean creating more jobs and opportunities for Malaysians in the short term. We must provide adequate wage subsidies to retain jobs and minimize unemployment so that we can bounce back quicker when the economy picks up. Workers who have lost their jobs should also be retrained to help them weather the storm. Reskilling can help the workforce become more resilient and better prepared for future job markets. One way of doing this is by making higher education an option. Enabling more people to go back to school whilst paying them a livable allowance would help manage the stress on the labour market. This would also help create more jobs in the education sector. We will be able to prepare our workforce for mission-oriented sectors through upskilling and specialist training. And for those who are already highly skilled in their fields, such as seasoned professionals, academics and specialists, could also find work as educators in a newly revitalized knowledge ecosystem. The second pursuit, creating more high-quality jobs for all Malaysians. In the medium term, we have to start planting seeds for a more sustainable and resilient society. This will require investing in infrastructure, improving the way the government delivers its services, and intelligently addressing the critical areas in which society needs urgent attention, like housing, transportation, and universal access to information technology. This would create the supply of new jobs and roles across the economy and across the country. Examples of these include improving our connectivity. We can make transportation and logistics better by improving connectivity in rural areas. This would help expand the online retailing phenomenon beyond urban hubs and design cost-saving ways to improve passenger mobility beyond mega transportation projects to connect more people to better work opportunities. Sustainable urban development. Investing sustainably in our neighborhoods and cities will be a powerful vehicle to create more quality jobs in design, construction, and urban services. By prioritizing fairer environmental and socio-economic urban policies, we can effectively engage with the challenges of urban renewal and housing affordability as more and more of us continue to live and work ever closer together. But we will need all stakeholders to make this work. Democratizing the way we build our cities will be a cornerstone mission towards building a fairer society at all income levels. The third pursuit, future-proofing, building a resilient and sustainable economy. By looking after our critical needs and making steady improvements in the way we grow our industries, we prepare ourselves for tough times. The investments that the government puts in from now on will give us the flexibility and capability to withstand future challenges. The challenge of food security is an example of this. By moving away from commodity-based farming towards sustainable and advanced practices in agriculture, we can strengthen multiple industries at once. We can protect farming from an uncertain future by framing it as a mission. In this case, we would need to boost homegrown R&D initiatives, redesign logistics, transport and data systems towards improved delivery, and revitalize the local workforce with a range of skill sets that can serve the mission, not just markets. This is mission-oriented policy at work. And the same approach can be applied to achieve other strategic goals, like reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, addressing climate change, and creating a fairer and equitable society that grows together, not apart. These policy ideas illustrate how the government can play a bigger role in creating pro-job policies to solve problems that have emerged from the triple crisis that we currently face. Through supporting and working closely with private enterprise, these policies aim to address the immediate issues before us, while reseeding our economy for a resilient and sustainable future.
This goes to show that the government needs to play an active role in shaping our future economy, much like how a garden requires the attention and vision of a keen and wise gardener. In order to achieve this, the government has to introduce new policies that will enable the creation of a new job-creating ecosystem. There are a few ways to do this. Firstly, introducing expansionary laws and policies that helps the government generate and support mission-oriented industries. Secondly, backing enterprises in strategic problem-solving industries through loans, incentives, or seed funding. Also, working better together by reducing government red tapes and encouraging innovations and experimentations with private enterprise. Finally, making sure that policies achieve their intended targets through rigorous performance management and impact evaluation. These are just some ideas that our leaders have to urgently consider in order to address the destructions of jobs caused by the COVID-19 recession. Otherwise, things will only get worse.
This is a critical moment in our lives, and we need to make ourselves heard. These ideas and policies need to be given serious attention by our leaders. Help spread the word. Contact your local representatives to push for laws and programs that will create resilient and sustainable jobs for all Malaysians. Share this video on social media and let them know what you think by using the hashtag Malaysia Cipta Kerja. Times are tough, but we're tougher, and we'll get through this together.